guys, welcome back to Fragments of a Simple Life, where every video I make is super simple. I'm gonna be doing a whispering video today because I don't feel good. I know it's a bit of a departure to go from Valentine's Day back to our Abandoned Places magazine with forgotten, frightening, and fascinating places, but that's kind of the mood I'm in. I'm making this video in the morning and it's very gloomy, very foggy, very, very cloudy here. And like I said, I kind of feel like crap. So please feel free to just put in your headphones, close your eyes, or listen to me while you do something else. I'm going to read you some different little articles about different abandoned places. We've done this magazine before. I actually bought this magazine not that long ago, like in January, I think. So it's not part of my Halloween magazine series that I was doing. This is some random magazine I found in the grocery store. So I'm going to read to you. I've been doing this magazine in order, so we're just going to pick up where we left off. Nevada City, Montana. I'll take my post-it off. I'll scoot the magazine over. Like I said, I'm just going to be reading so you can close your eyes and just listen to my words. It says, number 5, Nevada City, Montana. This town, established in what would become the Montana Territory, isn't nearly as famous or infamous as its neighbor, Virginia City. But since it's just 1.5 miles to the west and shares parts of the same history, including being born out of the gold discovery at Adler Gulch in 1863. After prospectors Bill Fairweather and Henry Edgar established their claim, other miners soon began to flock to the area. They settled in a number of camps that blossomed into towns including Summit, Adobe Town, Central City, Junction, and Nevada City. These sprung up along a stretch of Alder Gulch, and together they were known as the 14-Mile City. After the region became known for its lawlessness, Nevada City was the site of one of the most famous minor court trials of the day. It involved a man named George Ives, who was a road agent, a criminal gang member who murdered a popular Dutchman named Nicholas Stelblatt, and he stole his gold. Ives was then hunted down by a group of men who became known as the Montana Vigilantes. His trial lasted 3 days, and it was attended by 2,000 people. He was hanged just 58 minutes after being found guilty. That's crazy. Nevada City never grew as big as its neighbor, but its fall was equally fast. By 1869, just 6 years after its founding, Nevada City's population had fallen to around only 100 people. Even though it still had 3 general stores, 2 saloons, and several local businesses, miners kept leaving for better opportunities. Eventually, by 1876, everyone was gone. In 1896, so 20 years later, the Conway Placer Mining Company began a 24-year project to dredge the gulch. Conway extracted nearly $10 million in gold, but in the process destroyed most of what was left of Nevada City's buildings. Wow. Today, only 14 original buildings remain, though the town actually has more than 100, most of which have been imported or built to represent the rich history of the region. So it's kind of like not real. Much of the financing came from Charles and Sue Beauvais, heirs to the General Mills a cereal brand, I guess, who also invested heavily in the restoration of nearby Virginia City. Now operated by Montana Heritage Commission, Nevada City is an outdoor history museum and a popular tourist stop in the region. Crazy. It says, site of the trial and hanging of George Ives, December 21st, 1863. I think it's insane how they build these whole towns, these whole cities for the purposes of mining. And when it runs dry, bam, they're gone. And they did it over and over and over again all across the country. Okay. We have Dudleytown, Connecticut, number 6, located in the northwest corner of Connecticut. Dudleytown isn't actually a town. It's a section of the nearby village of Cornwall. That's very interesting. It says it was founded in 1738 and abandoned in 1990. Furthermore, it was first known as Owlsbury when it was settled by farmers in 1738. This made sense since the area, a valley known for its dark entries forest, was home to many owls. That sounds scary, dark entry forest. I want to know what that is. No one is sure exactly when it got the name Dudleytown, but it was sometime after Abel, and Barzillai Dudley, I don't know how to say that. Nope, don't know how to say their name. But their last name was Dudley, and they arrived in 1747, so a little bit after it was founded. Later, they were joined by 3 more men believed to be Abel's brothers. The area eventually filled with more Dudleys, but the family was apparently cursed. Isn't that just the way? They're always cursed, right? The legend dates back to the 16th century England. Edmund Dudley had his head chopped off for annoying the royal court of King Henry. Okay, that seems a little dramatic. About 50 years later, his son, John Dudley, the Duke of Northumberland, tried to overthrow the king by having his son, Lord Guilford Dudley, marry Lady Jane Grey. Ooh. While the marriage proceeded and Jane became queen, the plot failed, and those 2 Dudleys were also decapitated. Oh my gosh. Lady Grey's execution would eventually follow. True believers are convinced the Dudleys brought their misfortunes to Connecticut, as evidenced by a series of murders, suicides, untimely deaths, and residents simply losing their minds, most of which seemed to begin in the late 1700s. Not long after the Dudleys arrived, it sounds to me that they must have drank all the same water and got a parasite or something, I don't know. Or they were cursed, either way. Eventually, Dudleytown failed entirely. It was mostly due to the area's poor conditions for farming, though some believe it was the work of the Dudley curse. So much so that ghost hunters, thrill seekers, and curious tourists flocked to the area to see for themselves. That caused a major problem for area residents. They come roaring up here expecting there to be toilet facilities and concession stands. Dudleytown resident John Leach told the New York Times in 1989. What they don't realize is that there's absolutely nothing to be seen. It's mostly true. Remains of the town are few, and tourists are no longer welcome, so don't even think about going here, guys. The land was put into a private trust in the 1920s, and the visitors have been banned since the 1980s. What's left is dark and creepy and rarely seen by outsiders. The area has been reforested, so most of the roads are gone, so they put all these trees up so you can't get in there. Wow. A few people try to visit anyway, but the police are usually quick to respond. As a result, even photographs of modern Dudley Town are rare. Wow. So this must be 2 photographs of what it used to be. Number 7, Glendale Hospital. Founded 1934, abandoned 1982. When this Maryland tuberculosis sanatorium was first built in 1934, it was a beautiful campus of 23 buildings constructed among rolling grassy hills. The faculty was large, comfortable, and featured lots of outdoor spaces, as vitamin D and sunshine were thought to be effective treatments for TB. That's crazy, huh? The hospital quickly became one of the most important health facilities in the Washington, D.C. area. But once the tuberculosis vaccine was discovered in 1940, cases declined rapidly, which forced Glendale to begin treating other conditions. It eventually became a nursing home. The campus was finally closed and abandoned in 1982, mostly because it was full of asbestos, which gave rise to a legend that it was once used as a prison and a hospital for the criminally insane. It looks very creepy. Look at the vines growing up. 1982 wasn't that long ago. It's crazy how creepy something can look so quickly. This is a creepy picture of it too. It says, part of that mythology is owed to the stigma around TB, which was known as the White Plague well into the 30s and 40s. In those days, people were afraid of tuberculosis. Well, yeah, because they didn't know much about it. Kira Calm Lewis, a spokeswoman for Maryland's Prince George County Department of Parks and Recreation, told WTOP News in 2015. Patients diagnosed with TB were cast off from society. Their families wouldn't tell people where their relatives vanished to. That's so crazy. That's crazy. Oh, my Uncle Joe, we don't know where he went. Meanwhile, he's in this hospital, dying, and nobody, frickin' talks about him. That's insane. That kept the hospital somewhat out of view. Rather than seeing it as a place of healing, people feared it and its inhabitants. The stigma stuck until Glendale's closing and continued to grow over the last 40 years as its abandoned buildings began to crumble. Today, the remains of a haven for teenagers looking for a thrill, as well as ghost hunters of all ages. The hospital grounds are popular with visitors around Halloween. The campus belongs to the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission. But shortly after it was acquired in 1994, the District of Columbia passed a law saying that if Glendale is ever sold, it must be used as a continuing care or retirement community. Because of that, several attempts to sell the property have fallen through. Yeah, I would bet that people wouldn't want to do that or be told what to do with something that they spend money on. Glendale was added to the National Park Register of Historic Places in 2011, but it's in a state of disrepair. The upper floors and many of the buildings have caved in, and several are covered with graffiti on the outside. Many of the windows and doors are broken out, and the insides are filled with asbestos. Gross. The only thing occupying Glendale Hospital today are legends of hauntings and of mysterious figures appearing in the windows, as well as reports of unexplained bangs and screams. Then the little red writing here, the little caption says, inside blowout. The interiors of the building and the buildings at Glendale are even worse state than the exteriors, strewn with garbage and broken windows and doors, ravaged by the elements. Look at this dresser or desk or something right here. Yeah, it's insane. say this, but it looks like Cachagua, Alabama. It's a ghost town that's built on top of a ghost town. Not a great way to begin. It says it was founded in 1818 and abandoned in 1900. Look how creepy this picture is. It's pretty freaking cool, actually. Alright, it says it's not a great way to begin. Still, the idea of Cachagua, I don't know if I'm saying it right, guys, seemed a good one in 1818 when Alabama was searching for a location for its state capital. The picturesque site on the banks of the Alabama and Cachagua rivers was right in the center of the state. I have no idea if I'm saying these words correctly. Sorry, guys. What planners soon learned, though, was that the confluence of the two rivers brought trouble. An odor in the air bothered the residents. The mosquitoes swarmed the town. This sparked fear of outbreaks of malaria, yellow fever, and all sorts of diseases. And the seasonal flooding only made it worse. That sucks. As the Alabama Historical Society found years later, the surveyors of the site knew they were building the capital on the remains of an old ghost town. Ew. It was believed that the town was to be called... Ooh, cool picture. We'll come back to read the caption. The town was to be called Malbulia. I don't know. A Native American village destroyed by the Spanish explorer Hernando de Soto in 1540. The state house was even supposed to sit upon an ancient Indian mound. Ew. A place used for religious rituals. Why would you do that? Okay, it says Cachagua, I don't know if I'm saying it right, only served as the state capital from 1820 to 1825, and then was moved 90 miles away. Okay, that's good, I guess. The town survived in the antebellum years on the back of its largely enslaved African American population, of course, and revenues from a lucrative cotton trade. A huge cotton distribution center. The town grew into one of the wealthier places in the region once the railroad was connected in 1859. By 1860, Cachagua had 2,000 residents, though nearly 2/3 of them were enslaved people. Oh my gosh. During the Civil War, the Confederate government took over. They seized the railroad and some of the property. Wow. And even turned a large cotton warehouse into a military prison that at one point held 3,000 Union soldiers. In 1865, a major flood forced the Confederate government to move the prison. The state legislature moved the Dallas County seat to nearby Selma, and soon residents and businesses followed. By 1870, most people were gone. After the Civil War, the town did briefly become a haven for people that were formerly enslaved, that were trying to organize politically and redevelop the vacant plots in town, but it wasn't long before they moved away. Wow. By the late 1800s, most of the town site was purchased by a freedman, a person freed from slavery, for $500. He had most of the town torn down so he can sell the building materials. I'm guessing like the wood and stuff. Only a few structures survive today. It's on the National Register for Historic Places, but it consists mostly of abandoned streets, cemeteries, and building shells. Of course, there are also ghosts, or at least one. The ghost of Confederate Colonel C.C. Beggs reportedly appears as a white orb over the garden maze of his old property. Others believe it's a ghost of a dead Civil War soldier, or one of the many residents who died in the seasonal floods. built in 1854, St. Luke's Episcopal Church still stands. And these are the graves of Confederate soldiers. I wanted to see what this says. It says hard time. During the Civil War, the Confederate government turned the cotton warehouse. Oh, this is the warehouse that they turned into a prison. Wow. That's crazy. Okay, let's read like one more. Because my throat is starting to hurt. I love you guys, but I really don't feel good today. Number 9, the Kennecott, Alaska. Okay, interesting. Founded 1900, abandoned 1938. So definitely not very long. Okay, it says for a short time this town was home to one of the most lucrative copper mines in the world. So we're not gold anymore. Now we're talking about copper. But it couldn't survive the Great Depression. It was born a boom town in the summer of 1900 after prospectors Tarnangela Jack Smith, okay, and Clarence Warner saw the unmistakable green markings of copper deposits in the mountains. Wow. Other discoveries followed shortly after. In 1903, the I guess that's how you spell it, Kennecott, or how you say it, Mining Corporation was born. It's located 300 miles east of Anchorage. There's a difference in the Kennecott spelling due to clerical error. Was home to 5 active mines during the early years of the 20th century. In the 30 years they were running, the mines produced 4.6 tons of ore, valued at $200 million. Dang, that's nuts. Wow, look at this hardware store. It says the Kennecott Copper Corporation became one of the largest mineral companies on Earth. Wow. It had no trouble luring workers to the isolated settlement because it was able to offer higher salaries than any other mining company in the country. Though most of its residents were transient workers who sent their money home, the picturesque town nevertheless became a thriving hamlet. Miners in Kennecott worked grueling 7-day weeks, and the company showed movies and held dances in a recreation hall to help keep employees happy through the long, dark nights of the Alaskan winter. But nothing lasts forever. In 1925, a geologist predicted that the 5 mines, called Bonanza, Jumbo, Mother Lode, Erie, and Glacier, would soon be mined out, at least of high-grade ore, and he was right. It is really beautiful though, isn't it? The sprawling, ramshackle concentration mill rising above the glacier, that's this right here, an abandoned hardware store. Wow, it's freaking nuts. It says most of the high-grade ore was gone by the late 20s and early 1930s. At about the same time, the Great Depression hit and the price of copper tumbled. Soon, the mines began to close. The Glacier mine went first in 1929. The other 4 held on for a time before closing in 1938. With businesses shuttering and workers leaving, the last train left on November 10th, 1938. What was left behind has since been preserved by the National Park Service and has become a popular tourist attraction. Yeah, I would want to go there. There's the picture with the truck. I remember that from the beginning of the magazine. Several buildings have been restored. Other restorations are in progress. The most famous structure still remains, which is the massive red concentration mill that looms silently over all, 14 stories above the glacier. Wow. That's the Bonanza mine that's crumbling, and a deserted deserted automobile. That's crazy. Alright, you guys. Next time we'll do Bannock, Montana, number 10. I don't think this book is, or this magazine is just mining towns. I think there's other different like historic places and stuff. I'm just flipping. Whoa, look at that. That's scary. Interesting. Anyways, next time we will pick up where we left off, which is right here on number 10. I love reading about historic abandoned places because you kind of get to learn about American history at the same time, which is fun. Little trip down memory lane, being in history class. I don't know what that is. Let's turn. Old Joliet Prison. Yeah, see, there's gonna be other ones. They're not just about mining for ore and copper and gold. If you guys want to see more from me, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you guys for listening to me read today. Hopefully next week I'll be feeling better. I'll see you next time.